It's time to settle the debate, my friends. Is strategy a Ponzi scheme? Now, this is one of the most common claims made by MSTR bears. Now, if you've been following me for any meaningful length of time, you will know that I never like to shy away from opposing opinions. In fact, I welcome them because they force me to question my assumptions and beliefs and refine my thinking. And so in this video, I want to provide you guys with my honest evaluation of whether strategy is actually a Ponzi. Now, a wise man once said that all wisdom begins with the definition of terms. And so the first thing we need to do is to define exactly what a Ponzi scheme is. So, according to the SEC, a Ponzi scheme is defined as a scam that involves the payment of purported returns to existing investors from funds contributed by new investors rather than from legitimate profit earned by the operator. More simply, a Ponzi scheme is a form of fraud in which new investors are used to fund old investors rather than from legitimate profits. Now, key hallmarks of a Ponzi scheme, and this is important, include deception, secrecy, and no real underlying business or earnings. Now that we're all clear on what a Ponzi scheme is, let's outline what the strategy business model is. Now, if you truly want to understand what strategy is doing, then I invite you to watch the video of me unpacking the entire strategy playbook in detail, which I'll link to if you're watching on YouTube. But for the sake of this video, in a nutshell, the strategy business model is to raise capital by leveraging debt and equity so that it can buy more Bitcoin. The way it profits is by essentially capturing the spread between the cost of capital and Bitcoin's annual return rate. Now, why do people label strategy a Ponzi scheme? The primary reason why people label strategy a Ponzi scheme is because strategy, according to these critics, needs a continuous stream of new buyers of its equity or debt to continue fulfilling its debt obligations. So with all that in mind, is strategy a Ponzi scheme? Well, the answer is, it depends. If you define a Ponzi scheme as any business that requires ongoing access to capital in order to function, then yes, you can make the case that strategy is a Ponzi scheme. However, if we use the definition I outlined earlier, then no, strategy is not a Ponzi scheme, and here is why. Firstly, transparency. Strategy is fully transparent and it fully discloses its Bitcoin holdings, its debt levels, its strategies and risks, unlike Ponzi schemes which rely on secrecy and deception. Secondly, the asset base. Strategy holds a real, tangible, verifiable asset, Bitcoin, which acts as permanent capital, unlike Ponzi schemes which have no genuine underlying asset. And thirdly, the economics. Strategy's performance is, for the most part, tied to the performance of Bitcoin, unlike Ponzi schemes which rely on falsified profits and payments from new investors. So, in summary, if you define any business that needs new capital as a Ponzi scheme, then you're entitled to attach that label to strategy. However, if we accept that strategy is a business with transparent operations, a legitimate asset base, and genuine economics, then no, strategy is not a Ponzi scheme. Would it be acceptable to claim that strategy is speculative or unsustainable? Yes. A Ponzi scheme? No. Ultimately, the success of strategy will be determined by the success of Bitcoin, and Saylor has explicitly stated this himself. More specifically, the success of strategy will be determined by whether Bitcoin's annual return rate exceeds the cost of capital in perpetuity. And by the way, this is a legitimate risk, make no mistake. So that is my honest assessment of whether strategy is a Ponzi scheme. Remember, there are exceptions to every rule, and in my opinion, strategy is an exception. And one last thing that I would add is, do we really think that Michael Saylor, a multi-billionaire, is running an illegal scam in broad daylight as the executive chairman of $100 billion publicly listed company that is subject to SEC oversight? I don't think so. The trade-off for me doesn't make sense. And on that note, I'm going to wrap this video up. We're closing in on 1,000 subs on YouTube. So if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't already, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, as always, remember, the best is yet to come.